Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show. I'm your host, Nick Friesen, current sports writer at the Enid News and Eagle. This episode of the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show is brought to you by Kinley's Tanning and Boutique in Enid. From custom game day tees and boutique fashion to tanning and red light therapy, they've got everything you need to look good and feel even better. Stop by 2108 West Willow Road or follow online at kinleyscreations.com. Make sure you do what you usually do on Spotify and YouTube on the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show. On YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on that bell for notifications so you never miss a video or a podcast. And then on Spotify, make sure you're following the page Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show so you never miss a video or podcast on there as well. Alrighty, we have a fun show planned ahead for you, so let's get right into Northwest Oklahoma Sports. Happy Sunday to everyone. This is another edition of the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show. I'm Nick Friesen, sports writer at the Enid News and Eagle, and it's going to be another episode of football and cross country this week. As cross country's Class 6A and 5A had their meets on Saturday. We had some Enid people running in that. Got some information and some quotes from Justin DeClerc on their performance. I was out there, took some photos and watched them run, and it was pretty fun overall. So have a recap on that, and obviously high school football, and then talk a little bit about OU and OSU, and then the rant of the week. So that's the lineup, but we're going to start with high school football first. And we're going to start with the game that I went to on Friday, which was Enid versus Jinx. And a couple things there. Caden Jones and Landon Kaiser for Jinx. Caden Jones being the running back and Landon Kaiser being the quarterback. They were dominant in the contest, and they combined for 7 touchdowns. With Kaiser had 4 passing touchdowns, and Jones had 150 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns in the contest. So after really that first quarter, where Enid kind of kept it close in the first quarter for a little bit, they kind of just started dominating. Jinx did on offense from that point on, and kind of turned into the Jinx that has been Jinx the past 4 weeks since that loss to Bixby earlier in the year. Since that loss to Bixby, by the way, they're on a 5-game winning streak, and I think they're averaging definitely over 35 points per game. They might be averaging close to 40. So ever since that loss to Bixby, they've flipped the switch, and it showed in that game against Enid. I mean, Enid, this is my other point. Enid had some success on offense in the first half, and it was really the first quarter. The Jinx goes down and scores on their first possession, and after that ensuing drive on offense for Enid, Nehemiah Hernandez had pass completions of over 20 push yards to Brody Mills and Des Middlestead that got him inside I think the Jinx 30-yard line. And then Zarion Sanders, after a couple runs from Zarion Sanders to get him in the red zone, Zarion Sanders again with the 5-yard touchdown run. They missed the extra point, but they made it a 7-6 ball game in the first quarter. And then after that, Jinx scores, and then Enid's ensuing drive after Jinx goes up 14-6, they're moving the ball again, and then Nehemiah Hernandez throws an interception in Jinx territory. And from that point on, I think Jinx kind of realized that let's just take care of business and dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and that's exactly what they did in that win over Enid on Friday. But I like what I saw from Enid in that first quarter, just the overall play design and everything. That play design where Nehemiah got the snap, and it looked like Brody ran like a wheel route concept just out along the sideline, and I think he kind of designed that to break late from blocking and everything, and it looked really good because once he did, there was nobody covering him, and Nehemiah found him instantly, and that was a 20 to 30-yard gain. And then obviously the next play was a go route to Des Middlestead, and Des went up over 2 Jinx defenders and made that catch. So that Des has that playmaking ability, and it was awesome to just see that success. And once they had that success, usually what happened when they found that go route to Des is they break a long run or a screen or a passing play. They usually capitalize on their success with touchdowns, and that's the progression, that's what they've shown on offense throughout the season, is they've continued to progress well where they do have success on their offensive drives. They've been able to capitalize that on those drives with points. And so that's where they've had the success this year. And, it looked good for a little bit in that first quarter, but then after that, Jinx just took over and took the 74-6 win over the Plainsmen on Friday. So next week, Enid takes on Moore in their season finale. It'll be at home at Deeper Selby. It'll be senior night for the Plainsmen, so honor all those seniors and everything. But tough one for the Plainsmen, but we'll see what happens next week when they take on Moore on Friday. So another game I wanted to talk about that happened in the area was Pond Creek Hunter and OBA, and that game was huge, just the overall standpoint of, district playing B1-1 and kind of how it's going to shape out towards the rest of the season, or rest of the regular season. Really just one more week, because next week's week 10. Pond Creek Hunter made it interesting for the week 10 of the regular season. They take the 16-0 win over OBA on Friday. Only 2 touchdowns in this contest. Noah Crouch, 26-yard receiving touchdown from Kyson Davis, and then Tegan Cowherd with a 2-yard touchdown run in the contest in the third quarter. So they make it interesting in B1-1. Pond Creek Hunter does. I think next week Pond Creek Hunter plays Turpin. They've got them at home, so that's good. They don't have to travel to Turpin for the final week of the regular season. OBA's got Garber. Pioneer, who's second now in the district behind Laverne, takes on Laverne next week. So that'll be a fun one just to see kind of how that shakes up. I think Pioneer wins. Will they be? I think they'll be the top seed in that district. I don't know what comes first, head-to-head or points. I would assume head-to-head situations, win or loss between the two teams comes first. But the points, they do have points in there, district points at plus 15 or whatever it is, do matter as well. But Pioneer takes on Laverne next week. That's a battle of 1 versus 2. OBA takes on Garber. OBA needs that one just to stay, in the 3 spot in the playoffs. And, Pond Creek Hunter then takes on Turpin on the week 10, and then they need to win as well to stay, in the playoffs, really, because if the head-to-head advantage with the two teams comes first, then Turpin obviously jumps Pond Creek Hunter there in that scenario. So it's going to be a fun one in week 10, but, just one other thing from that besides, the district standings in that week 10 of the regular season is, I think OBA, from what I heard, they had 2 or 3 fumbles, and they had 3 fumbles in that contest. And whenever you have turnovers in a contest where, Pond Creek Hunter loves to run the football, and at that point, they also love to take some time off the clock and everything. And so once you have turnovers in a situation where another team wants to control the time of possession, and they will, based off the skill players they have in the running game and everything, it just creates a disadvantage for y'all on offense, and it just creates, less opportunities, less possessions in the contest, and basically they're drive killers and they're game killers for y'all for the rest of the way. So congratulations to the Panthers. That was a huge win, especially coming off that loss to Pioneer in, week 8 of the regular season. But, Pond Creek bounces back, gets a big win over OBA, take on Turpin. District B1-1. Whoever is going to be the 4 seed in that district, they're going to give Hollis a run for their money. And Hollis better be ready for what's coming to town at their place in the first round of the playoffs, whether it's Pioneer, OBA, or Pond Creek Hunter, whatever, because it's going to be a tough matchup for Hollis for either of those teams. So congratulations to Pond Creek Hunter on getting a much-needed win over OBA, and we'll just see how that plays out next week when all those teams finish out the regular season and kind of just how they finish and as a seed going into the playoffs. Because whoever's not playing them is going to play a tough Empire team, and then Eureka looks like they're going to be a formidable opponent too, just based off of some of their scores and their contests and everything. But congratulations to Pond Creek Hunter on getting a win over OBA and basically they control their own destiny in the playoffs. If they beat Turpin, they're in the playoffs. So congratulations to Palm Creek Hunter on a win over OBA. So now we're going to do other scores in the area for high school football. We'll start with Stroud and Hennessy. That was a matchup for the district title in Class 2A-2-1, I believe. District 2A-2-1, yes. Stroud takes the big win over Hennessy, 52-3, and all Stroud from the start of the contest jumped out 21-0 in the first quarter and never looked back in the win over Hennessy, 52-3. Anadarko gets a win over Kingfisher, 21-14. I think both teams completed a berth for the playoffs, but now it's just at this point improving your seeding in that District 3A1. So Anadarko gets the win over Kingfisher and makes it tough for Kingfisher to either get 2 or 3 in that district standings and everything. So we'll see what happens with that. Covington Douglas gets a big win over Davenport, 52-24 on Friday. We'll just read off some stats here. Ryland Fisher with a couple touchdown runs in the contest. He had 3 touchdown runs in the contest. Matt Castile had a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown. So on defense, that's awesome to see. And also just dominant showing for Covington Douglas offense, and something that me and Coach Smith have been talking about. He's kept trying to preach is sustain drives and turn drives into points, and it looked exactly like that's what they did with 14 points in the first quarter and then 24 in the second quarter, and giving up only 8 in that first half to take just a big win over Davenport, a much needed win for Covington Douglas in that district. See if they could possibly still make the playoffs. We'll see about that. So keep going on down the list here. Kremlin Hillsdale takes another win in their district, 50-38 over Winoka on Friday. Tyler Smith and Chase Pearl both had multiple touchdowns in the contest. So Kremlin gets another win on the year and continues. I think they're 2-7 on the year for Kremlin. So coming off of what was, I think, ended at a 35-game losing streak for Kremlin and everything. Now they're 2-4 in the district and 2-7 on the season. So they've obviously gotten better from the past few years and everything. So congratulations to the Bronx at Kremlin Hillsdale. O'Keene takes a big win over Shattuck, 66-44. Looked like everyone for O'Keene just thrived on offense. And Ringwood takes a 44-8 win over Canton on Friday. So Adam Anderson for Ringwood had 4 touchdowns. Jason Vaughn had scored a touchdown. Isaac Wall had a pick-6 return for a touchdown and scored a touchdown on offense. So congratulations to Ringwood. That's their first win of the year. So congratulations to Ringwood on Friday. Alva takes the win over Meeker, 34-20. Chisholm with a big win over Perry, 46-15. Take care of business in that district. Chisholm does with a win over Perry. I think that sets them up with a date with Washington in the first round of the playoffs, and that's going to be a big one because I think they're well tested. Chisholm is just for playing OCS, Metro, and Jones, and even Millwood. They're still a formidable opponent, so Chisholm's well tested for that matchup against Washington in the first round of the playoffs. But they take care of business with Perry. Against Perry, Malachi Owens had 2 touchdowns. Manu Smolinski had 2 touchdowns. Brandon Todd and Blake Thompson each had a touchdown. So the offense is finding a stride as of late. So congratulations to Longhorns. Fairview takes a 49-15 win over Sayre. Hooker with a 34-14 win over Watonga. Let's see. Tyrone with a 44-22 win over Sharon Mutual, and then some other scores, Sealing with a win over Boise City, Cashin with the win over Hinton. So that's really for all of Northwest Oklahoma. That's the rest of the scores for all of the area. And so congratulations to all the teams. Week 10 of the regular season's here. And after that, it's postseason time. And with the way some of these districts have played in the area, some of these teams are going to be tested for a first round playoff matchup if they're a 4 seed. So congratulations to all the team that won in Week 9 of the regular season. So now it's time for the Garfield County Report. This is where I pick a team or several teams in Garfield County and just kind of talk about their season and kind of a wrap up basically of their whole season now, since most of the other, cross country is now over and softball's over, volleyball's over. But for this one, it's going to be a Class 6A state title or state championship meet on Saturday at Edmond Santa Fe. We had 4 people from Enid run in it, with Jose Hernandez in the boys race, and then Cassie Lebeda, Riley Salee, and Maddie Diaz in the girls race. We'll start with the boys race. And for Jose Hernandez not qualifying his freshman season to this next year, winning 5 individual titles, a conference title, and then finishing 30th in the state meet on Saturday. Solid sophomore season for Jose Hernandez as he finishes top 30 in the state meet, and it's just an overall solid showing in a state debut. Obviously, I think what he was trying to push for was top 15 so he can get all-state, and that didn't happen. But for 30th in your first run at the state meet, it's pretty good for considering he was 3 seconds away from making state last year for the boys as well. But Jose Hernandez finishes 30th, has a solid sophomore season, and just the overall growth from him from his freshman year to sophomore year has been awesome to see. And that's kind of what head coach Justin DeClark talked about. So here's Justin DeClark talking about Jose Hernandez and just his maturity and his growth from from this past year, his freshman year, to his sophomore campaign.
The continuing growth and maturity through it all. As a freshman last year, he was learning a lot. And this year, it seems like all the experiences and everything that he gained from last year and the beginning of this year, and having all the success and winning the races and things like that this year, you could watch him mature and watch him grow, just in race preparation, race execution, just his running IQ. I mean, it all just it very quickly progressed from last year to this year.
So it's like Coach DeClark said. I mean, the growth from Hernandez from last year to this year is really what impressed him the most as coaching him this year, and just his overall growth from each race. I mean, his mental toughness. I mean, even Jose after the race on Saturday, I was asking him just about like his whole process during the race or anything, and he was just like, "It's not a mental process at this point for me; it's a physical process." So his mental focus is there, and that's what you really need in cross country. So congratulations to Jose Hernandez on a solid showing in the boys' meet. With the girls' meet, Cassie Lebeda finished 83rd, Riley Salee finished 101st. And then Maddie Diaz finished 103rd in the girls' race. So, with Cassie Lebeda back again for her second run at the state meet at Enid Santa Fe, and she improved on her time. And then Riley Salee and Maddie Diaz. This is a solid first time, run. That's what Coach DeClark told me. And they have everyone back next year in the girls' team. So, here's Coach DeClark talking about just that, and then the overall, each girl's performance at the Class 6A state meet on Saturday.
Absolutely. You look at Cassidy. Cassidy this time last year compared to now. Cassidy ran a faster time this year than she did this time last year on the same course. So that's progress, right? She's here. She come here back to back, right? Again, after the frustrating freshman outing that she had, and then come back and go to state as a sophomore, and now as a junior. And last spring she went to state meet and track too. So she's come a long way, and it's good to see that she had other teammates with her here as well. We did last year. Ezzy was here with her, but this year Maddie, just like I said before, she's one of those silent workers, man. She's been around, and she's been here, but she's just kept her head down and grinded. And so it was really exciting for her to get the opportunity to come here. So she had never been here before. And Riley, as a freshman, for us, it's not it's not very often you see a freshman runner from Enid High School be at a state
with the girl
competition.
that was in 100 meters and 200 meters in middle school and everything.
Right.
Training for totally different things.
Yeah, at complete different end of the spectrum on that deal. So just kudos to all three of them. You know, they worked so hard. They went through the ups and downs, and they were able to overcome all the obstacles and put them in a position to be here today, it's a win. It's a win.
So yeah, like DeClark said, I think he's pretty excited about what the girls team could possibly accomplish next year, and that starts with making it as a team at state. And so hopefully they can do that next year, and hopefully the boys can. The boys have been really close the past 2 years, so we'll see what transpires, in indoor track and then outdoor track and then next cross country season. But we're going to flip over to the college football ranks for this next segment. We're going to talk about OU and OSU. We'll start with OSU. I'll just give a couple things on it. They do lose to Kansas on Saturday. The offense is improving. And Zane Flores, that was his best game as a Cowboy, I would assume that is, just based off of his numbers and everything. The offense is there, and it's improving. You have, Terrell Davis at skill players, Trent Howland. There's something there with Trent Howland at running back. I don't know what it is, but there's something there. If they can get a decent offensive coordinator in this next coaching cycle with, the head coach coming in and the head coach that hires those new coordinators and everything, they need to get a new offensive coordinator that, knows how to use running backs like Trent Howland and stuff, because there's something there with him. But the offense, like I said, they're improving. It's just the defense gave up points on every single drive today, and that's frustrating to watch whenever the offense is improving and there's not complimentary football. But kind of expected that in this game, especially with Jalen Daniels and all the skill weapons that Kansas does possess at some points in the game. But OSU, they're getting better. Probably not going to win another conference game this year, but the offense is getting better. The defense, they just need an overhaul, an overhaul of their defensive group at every position. Maybe not defensive. I don't know. If you can keep some players, I don't know. Maybe you do need the overhaul just because it's been so bad these past several years. But like I said, the offense, one side of the ball is improving, and then the other side of the ball is just staying the same. So not playing complimentary football, and that's something that coaches preach throughout the year. And, when it's not happening like that, then the season tends to spiral. So tough loss for OSU, but still showing signs of improvement on the offensive side of the ball. So now we'll talk about Oklahoma's win over Tennessee on Saturday, and it was a flip of the switch, I would say, from the first half to the second half. The first half, they ended with 99 total yards of offense in the first half. The only reason they had a lead at the end of the first half was turnovers. They created turnovers on defense, and Tennessee just couldn't get anything going in the first half to where they could, sustain drives and capitalize on those drives on offense in the first half. And so, Joey Aguilar, I don't think he was that good. I mean, he made some really nice throws, but when he faced some pressure from the OU defensive line and the linebackers, he just threw up that ball to whoever the nearest receiver was. Sometimes the receiver wouldn't even know it was coming, and OU's defensive playmakers made some turnovers, made some key interceptions, and all of that. Shout out R. Mason Thomas. It's like I've heard from several people just talking about the play overall that if they were to make the college football playoff this year, that's going to be the reason. That play is going to be the reason, one of the main reasons why they're in the playoff, because the way that game was going, when it was 7-0, Tennessee's driving to make it 14-0, and with 8 or 7 minutes left in the first quarter, it looked like it was going to get bad in a hurry, but it didn't. OU weathered the storm in the first half, and then in the second half, the running game something that's not been there all year. It finally showed up. And shout out John Mateer and Xavier Robinson. Xavier Robinson is going to be one of the dominant running backs by the time he's a senior in the SEC, I would assume. So, I mean, he had 115 rushing yards and 1 touchdown on 16 carries yesterday. And then John Mateer, say what you want, but he had over 70 yards rushing. He ran for over 80 yards in the contest and had the clinching touchdown at the end of the game against Tennessee on Saturday. But it's a much-needed win. It's like the way they all have been saying, it was a playoff eliminator, and OU stays alive. And Tennessee, they're playing for, I guess, just another bowl game, I would assume. I don't know how much your Tennessee fans and players are going to get hyped for some random bowl game, but OU keeps their playoff hopes alive. And, it's like some of the people I've been listening to podcasts before on Sunday morning and everything. This is the best time to have a bye week, because after this bye week, you got Alabama, which is going to be a huge matchup, because that's also a playoff eliminator. And then if they can just win that, then you got Missouri, and then who knows what LSU is going to be like at the end of the year. But, I mean, it was a big win just for the sake of the playoff and just for the sake of Brent Venables and the OU football program, because if they would have lost that, and then, I still think Alabama's going to beat them in that next contest. But with the win over Tennessee, if they can just get it to the fourth quarter and it's only a 3 to 10 point game, they're only down by 3 to 10 points, they could easily come back in that game just based off of what they did in the second half against Tennessee. They kind of just, wore the Tennessee defense down with their running game, something that hasn't happened all season long for them. So that's awesome to see. And I think with this bye week, John Mateer is going to get right this bye week with just his thumb and just his health overall, and, just his overall mentality and physical playmaking abilities. And I think it's going to be a good bye week for the Sooners, especially after that win against Tennessee. So big win for them. Obviously, there's a tale of two halves, but the second half is where it matters. And the defense was there all night, too. That's what was awesome to watch. I know Tennessee scored 27, but that's vastly different from what they've been scoring on SEC opponents this season. So OU gets the big win, gets a bye week, and then they set up, I would assume that's game day, maybe. I mean, we'll see. I don't think they've been to Alabama yet this year. So that could be game day for OU Alabama, but we'll see when OU takes on Alabama 2 weeks from now in SEC play. So now we're at the rant of the week. This is where I pick a topic in the sports world, not really Northwest Oklahoma, and I give my rant or take on it for the week. Well, the obvious one is YouTube TV versus Disney. They ruined a lot of people's ability to watch football, just sports in general, on Saturday. I mean, really, the only thing that they could watch, if you were on YouTube TV, the only thing you could watch was the World Series, and then whatever games were on Fox before then, and CBS, and NBC. So, I mean, you still had football, but you didn't have ESPN, any of the ESPN platforms, or ABC, so it didn't really matter then at that point. So yeah, this whole situation is because YouTube TV, it's the largest TV provider in the U.S. with more than 9 million subscribers. It's insane for what started, or I don't know when it started, but the growth of it has been tremendous. And I mean, it's bizarre that they can't get anything done, and it's usually every 3 weeks they have something wrong with it, with YouTube TV and NBC, or YouTube TV and CBS, or YouTube TV and Fox, or whatever. I mean, wasn't it before the start of the season? I can't remember if it was DirecTV versus Fox or YouTube TV versus Fox. that where if they didn't get a deal done by Saturday, then some people can watch Texas versus Ohio State. Well, some people, I mean, all the people that have YouTube TV. So it's just crazy that and I know why ESPN and Disney are doing it, because they just launched a new platform for, I don't even know what it is. It's like ESPN in all in one package or whatever, where you can get all of it for like $40 a month, or I don't know, $40 to $60 a month. It's just bizarre that these people just can't get anything done, and it's like, well, I think I listened. I don't know who said it on the Sports Animal this past week. They don't care about, subscribers or people that watch YouTube TV or Disney or whatever. The only thing they care about is money and how they can get their platform above everyone else. And so, doesn't matter the amount of money they're going to go and take channels off of YouTube TV or other platforms in the hopes that they get more money, and they don't even realize that what they're hurting is the people that watch the content, that give the daily money and everything for the content for each month. And it was bizarre. I think it was a whole week long thing this past week of just, they were saying that they weren't going to reach a deal, and then they didn't reach a deal. And all the ESPN networks, people coming out and saying, if you want your network back, go to keepmynetworks.com. But it also goes hand in hand with YouTube TV and ESPN, because ESPN's trying to promote this all new, platform for $50 a month. And it's just, I don't like it at all personally, because they didn't need to do it. They're just doing it because they think they can. And I mean, they can, but they don't need to do it. So I didn't like it at all when it first came out, because I don't think anyone wants to pay for just ESPN and sports, because they want other channels and everything. And maybe some people do pay that $60 a month and all that. But here's a quote from Disney on YouTube TV that they said. Disney said that YouTube TV, this is from the Associated Press and their story that came out, I think it was Friday. Disney said that YouTube TV is refusing to pay fair rates for its channels and has chosen to deny their subscribers the content they value most, pointing out the number of top 25 teams playing this weekend. But you're also in this, ESPN. You're also trying to be a saving grace here, and you're not doing it because you just want this big old one platform for your sports content and everything. It also said, no longer see Disney channels, including ABC and ESPN, after two sides failed to agree on a new content distribution deal. Other channels that vanished from Google's pay TV platform included Disney Channel, FX, and National Geographic. Google Pay's TV platform said in a blog post late Thursday that Disney had followed through on a threat to suspend its content in negotiations. It impacts basically all of the four major sports besides the MLB. It's just bizarre, and it doesn't even look like they're going to even get close to a deal anytime soon. So we'll see. It sucks because they don't even care about the people that are actually subscribed and pay for that TV service. And my parents still have DirecTV, and they saved our butts this weekend, because that's how we watched college football this weekend, was DirecTV and cable television. So my parents are one of the last few that have cable television, but it came in hand this week when they had DirecTV and they could watch it. All the college football they wanted on Saturday. But yeah, YouTube TV and Disney. Oh, just come up with a deal soon, because if you don't come up with a deal by the end of the college football season, it's going to get bad, just from the fans' perspective. And yeah, it just sucks because they don't even realize what they're actually doing to the people that watch their stuff, and continue to pay and provide and continue to pay each month to watch college football games, NBA games, or NHL games. But yeah, that's my rant of the week. YouTube and Disney and their fiasco. So that'll do it for this edition of the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show. Next week is just high school football. And then we got, I don't know how many basketball games we have this week, but Dover and Cimarron kick off their season facing each other on Tuesday. And I don't know if Dover plays Friday. I can't remember who plays Friday, but we do have games on Tuesday and Friday for basketball. So basketball is here, and it's going to be here until March. So we'll see how that transpires. I know I've heard some things just from teams in the area and everything. So it should be an interesting season with some of the teams in Northwest Oklahoma. But next week we'll have football. I'll talk a little bit about the games from Tuesday and Friday, the basketball games. Just kind of talk about the stats and kind of just the overall what it looked like from a box score perspective. I'll probably go back and watch the Dover Cimarron, and then whoever plays Friday, I'll go back and watch their games too. Just kind of get a feel or of a breakdown of what transpired in the games and everything. But football and basketball from here on out until the end of the year, so should be fun. Two best sports in high school sports, and in high school, I think that's, well, I don't know. Softball is up there too. Softball in Northwest Oklahoma is pretty competitive and pretty prominent in this area. So, but high school basketball and high school football will take place the rest of the year. So that'll be our main topics on the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show for the rest of the year. But until a new edition of the Northwest Oklahoma Sports Show, until that happens next Sunday, keep doing what you're doing, Northwest Oklahoma sports fans. Go out and show your support for Northwest Oklahoma sports teams.